magic weapons. We need a magic weapon blessed by Helm, he said. That Rudolph. And then he shows us this pile he's collected. Why is he collecting a pile of weapons? He's a funny one. We need a magic weapon and a piece of wood. That's what he said. A piece of wood carved by anyone. We soften him up with a magic weapon and then we kill him when there's just normal piece of wood. That's hilarious, that is. And now we're gonna visit some abbey for the old son. What's that supposed to be? Hardly the blade. Or maybe it is the blade. I wonder why I have these dreams. But they're very helpful. They make me feel like there's some sort of purpose in all this. And now this mountain village of Kresik. Pretty. I don't like... What's that noise? Was that from the abbey up on the hill? This is Red Moon role-playing.
You find yourself waiting outside the tall, strong walls of the village of Kresik. The ringing of the bell continues for a little while longer, before finally ceasing. When it ceases, those sounds you could hear on the wind seem to die down as well. You notice that the guardsmen watching the gate, currently watching you, didn't seem to pay much attention to the noise. They were aware of it, but they seem to be actively trying to ignore it. You are currently waiting outside. You've been told to wait, after all, by these guards, all with their crossbows aimed at you, looking extremely cautious. But your message of safe passage for wine seems to have gone through, and after some time, a man comes forward. He's quite large in girth, but short in stature. He is a balding man with a large bushy beard. He is wearing, compared to the guards, some slightly more ornate clothing, a little bit more colour. And he comes forward. He looks you over for a moment as he steps out. The gates opening as he has stepped out, and now he is facing the pair of you on your horses, with two men behind him. I am the Burgomaster Dmitri Krezov. We do not want you here. We do not want anything to do with you. However, he sighs very loudly. As you bring a gift of wine, I must of course allow you hospitality. You will be allowed inside for a day and a night. And then please, I beg of you, leave immediately.
I nod at this. Sounds reasonable. We did not come to stay or do anything much business in your city, but we wish to pay a visit to the abbey, if you don't mind too much.
Yes, indeed, a pilgrimage, if you will. A pilgrimage to the abbey. Let me introduce myself. I am Dawnbringer Roman, priest of Lathander of the Morning Lord. I come to visit the abbey, to pray.
He frowns, and motions for two of his men to take the wine cask. Do you let them take it?
Yeah, I hold it over.
They take it and start walking into the walls of the village. Krezov nods and starts to move in himself, remarking as he turns, I do not care who you are. You are travelers. You will bring death with you. Every moment you are in my village, people's lives will be at risk, whether you mean it or not.
I assure you, no harm will come to the townspeople. You will be safe, and we will soon be gone. Please do not worry.
I found this slightly amusing myself, considering how we left the previous town. But I try not to say anything. It's straining, but I try.
The other guards seem to now motion for you to come in and get past the gates. Do you go in?
Yes.
Yes.
And you enter, with the gates being closed behind you, with a satisfying clunk. It is an imposing wall and an imposing gatehouse that surrounds this village. Yes, it is definitely a village. You're looking around, compared to the likes of Valakai. This is half the size, maybe even a quarter of the size, you can already see. There are very few houses, although they all seem to have little farms, little gardens, if you will. You also notice, Roman, quite interestingly, a large amount of trees. They're everywhere. It's almost like a little forest is actually directly inside these walls, with the houses built sort of among them.
Do I notice anything about the trees? Are they different from the trees in the more threatening forests that we have passed through, or do they look to be the same species?
Do you have nature?
I have a -1 on nature.
Do you have survival? You could both make me, if you want, either a flat wisdom check or survival.
I do have survival.
9.
23.
So, Roshek, you aren't really paying attention to trees. After all, you've seen hundreds of trees in your life. What difference is there in here? Roman, you are familiar, a little at least, with local flora and fauna. They are strong trees, grown, you think, naturally. Yes, they are not randomly put out. You notice there's a bit of order to them, and they look certainly more inviting than the trees you've seen so far. They must grow them for lumber. You see next to quite a few of them fresh axes and cut down stumps. Maybe it's how they sustain something in the area. Looking at these little farms as well, this place seems very self-sustainable. You see actual farm animals, which you haven't really seen so far. Pigs and cows, people tending them.
Interesting, I say to Roshek. I wonder why they are chopping down the trees in here, not out there. Is there actually forests around here, or was there some distance? We seem to be close to some mountains, yes?
Yes, you left the forests a little while ago, but they were nearby, like 10 minutes ride would take you into the woods.
Maybe they just want to keep to themselves and try to have everything at arm's reach.
Perhaps. There may be things living out in the woods that do not exactly welcome lumberjacks.
You notice quite a few people are watching you with hesitation and concern, especially you, Roshek. Again, those stares, but here less hate-filled, like in perhaps Valakai, and more genuine fear of your presence and your appearance. Those guards are continuing to lead you along. They are leading you in the wine cask towards a slightly bigger house than all the others. But again, it doesn't seem much bigger, to be honest. Most of the houses are small cottages, and already, as you approach this house, you notice you see more trees and then the walls. The village already seems over, other than a little distance further north. You see what looks like some sort of little shrine. You can't see much from here, but there's definitely a little wooden gazebo of sorts, made of white wood. You are led up to the house, and the guards open the doors and begin taking in the wine. A woman appears at the house, coming outside. She is tall, with greying hair, but also dressed a little in a similar clothing to Dimitri.
I nod in a friendly way to her, trying to see if I can get some kind of reaction, or if she is, well, as inhospitable to travelers as Dimitri was.
She frowns. She is perhaps not looking at you as hostilely as he was, There is definitely sadness in her eyes, though, Roman. Loss. Grief. The husband turns back to you for a moment. His expression seems distant already. You notice him looking at some graves nearby, which you actually then notice, yes, there's a little plot in front of this house. There are multiple graves in it. One of them looks very freshly dug to your eyes. He looks at this grave for a moment and then turns to you. Just be on your way to the Abbey and be gone. We do not want you here. If things were different, I wouldn't have let you in, but and he sort of just starts muttering to himself, and the wife seems to go over and pats him on the shoulder. She says,
"It's all right, Dimitri. You can go back in. Yes, travellers. I am sorry, but we have little to offer you. It would be best if you left as soon as possible."
Of course. Our visit will be short. Please do not worry. And I nod to Roshek. Perhaps best to make this visit short, eh?
I start leading my horse away and I shrug. Yeah, well, one can hardly blame them for being like this, considering how things are in these lands. I'm only glad. I'm muttering under my breath, only so you can hear it. That word hasn't travelled before us from Valakai, then they would never let us in.
That is true, I say, and this little smile that I had on my face before disappears as I think about what happened there and what we did, and I worry. I worry about the people there. There were so many children there.
there were indeed, but at least they'll be having their festival. If you think about it, they're probably having it right about now, or starting anyway. I'm sure that will offer them some comfort, won't it?
I don't know. Well, the Abbey calls. We must find the old sun.
Right. The old sun, that's what it said. Do you remember the name of the Abbey? It was Saint of something.
The Abbey of Saint Markovia was the name you remember, Roman.
Yes. The Abbey of Saint Markovia.
Does that mean something to you? The saint. I mean, Markovia.
It does not, correct?
It shouldn't. Something about it is familiar, actually. You must have read about it somewhere, or someone must have mentioned it. It couldn't have been that important, or you'd remember more, surely, but you definitely suddenly have a little bit of a familiarity. Saint Markovia.
I was just thinking, I mean, I know you want to believe in the prophecy and all these things that she said, and I don't know. It's starting to fade a bit in my mind, so I haven't thought about it much. I don't know, I was quite drunk at the time and I didn't pay too much attention because all I got stuck on was that she was just talking about themselves. But she did mention an abbey, didn't she?
She did, and she mentioned a blade, too, did she not?
Yeah, but I don't know if that has anything to do with the abbey. She said that one thing would be with the nest of crows, and that was probably the book that we found. And then there was one thing that's supposed to be in the abbey of the fallen saint that does not know that it's fallen, or something like that. That was really confusing anyways. So something is there, I guess, but I don't know if it's the blade.
I suppose we shall have to see. There was a feeling that I got when I met that old woman. A feeling that she knew what she was speaking about. There was power there, and it is at least something that we have to go on. The Vistani are able to live in these lands and to come and go as they please. Perhaps it is a weapon, or perhaps it's a way out. Regardless, it's something. We need something, Roshek. We need something. I can't stay here.
Well, we've got some nice weapons now. I pat my new longsword. It doesn't feel the same in my hand as my good old Bethany, but it's not bad. And maybe this one will be an armor of some sort. Then we'll be all geared up and ready for battle.
I laugh a little at that, yes. I just hope it will be enough. That man that we met. I do not know how we're supposed to be able to take him on. I don't know if anyone can. I hope we will not meet him again, but something tells me that we will. Something tells me that we will.
It was interesting that, how he just chose to meet us himself instead of sending his stinky elf with the howling voices.
Yes, that was curious, wasn't it? But I suppose the prize that he came to collect was valuable to him. So he came in person.
Yeah, either that or he was just curious about us. Maybe he wanted to meet us, you know?
Perhaps. Perhaps we're important, Roshek.
Yeah. We're gonna kill him after all.
Roshek, you feel a strange sensation for a moment as you're talking about all this and thinking about what you want, especially that blade, and wondering if this has anything to do with it. And you just for a moment, you hear the voice again, the voice from your dreams. But you're not dreaming. It sounds a bit indistinct compared to the dream, and odd because you swear in the dream it was all male, but now it sounds very familiar, very female. And you just hear a whisper, and the whisper says, "Let me see for a moment, I can guide you."
And I cut myself off in the middle of a sentence. So, the story behind... What was that?
"Let me see for a moment, and I can guide you. Will you allow me, Roshek? Just a moment, and I can help the path."
And I stand there confused, staring into the air, listening to something.
You feel a little tingling sensation. Do you wish to resist this, or let this tingle occur?
No, I get absorbed into it.
You feel a strange sensation, and the tingling continues for a few moments more, and then it stops. And you feel fine, and then you just hear for a moment, "Yes, the Abbey. The path to the Abbey. This is the right path, Roshek. Thank you. I know now. Yes, this is the right path. Help the priest. Go to the Abbey. This is the right path, Roshek." And then it just fades away again.
I have been waiting politely as this goes on, waiting for my friend to speak again.
I look around.
Are you alright? You zoomed out a little bit there. Lost in thoughts?
Is that you, Ava? Is that Madame Ava?
There is only silence.
Huh.
She's speaking to you?
I don't know. I heard a whisper. We're supposed to go to the Abbey now.
Yes. Let us do that, Roshek.
And at this point, you then turn, Roman, just as you're about to start heading, you notice some commotion coming from one of the houses just across from you. From the big house that you assume is where the burgomaster lives. A woman runs out suddenly, and she's running towards the house. She looks at the pair of you for a moment and then runs to the door and begins knocking on it. She's saying, "It's coming early! It's coming early!
Childbirth.
Anna, it's coming early!" And the door opens and you see the woman from before look a little alarmed, and she starts, "Yes, I understand," and there's a bit of a commotion and a few more men seem to be moving back and forth everywhere. And then as this woman, Anna, the wife to the burgomaster, "You are a priest, correct? Please, I know this is uncertain, but you are familiar with healing rituals and childbirth. This is an early birth. It could go wrong. Please, could I ask your assistance? I know this is much to ask, but you are a priest, aren't you?"
Yes, I am. Of course, we must ensure that this child reaches this world safely. Roshek, we have to do this. It's a child.
I give a large groan, and I'm guessing this will ease people's minds about us, but do you mind if I go ahead?
Well, if you are sure about that, then I guess I shall meet you over there. But I would feel safer if we stuck together. Yes, you do not know what is waiting for you up there.
I will mention at this point that as you look ahead, Roshek, you notice a path, but the path seems to start ascending for quite a distance. Now you are inside the village, you can clearly see that the structure, the abbey, looks to be very, very high up on a hill, an incline, possibly at least 400 feet up. The journey looks like it might be about 10-20 minutes.
Well, alright then, I'll stick with you. There better be a place to sit in there, and I'm not gonna get my hands filthy by some human baby.
See if you can find a tavern or such. Have an ale. But not more than one, yes? We have work to do after this. And I start rushing towards the woman and the, yes, where this child is supposed to be delivered.
And you rush off to join them. Roshek, looking around, I'll tell you now, there is no tavern.
There is no tavern. How's the weather?
Grey. Depressing.
Is it rain in the air?
No, although the air feels moist. It probably will rain soon, you think.
Wait, is there anywhere I can sit inside that I look around? It seems...
There are some stumps on the ground from people chopping down wood. A few farmer people are looking at you. There is also that shrine I mentioned a few 5 minutes ahead. It looks rather pleasant. You could sit there.
Yeah. Alright, so I'm taking something out of my saddle bags, a small package, and I'm going over to the shrine to start working on something.
Indeed. As you begin walking to the shrine, we will return to Roman. You are ushered into this house. It is a pleasant enough house, although, like everything here, there's an element of grey and misery, although at least this house seems lived in, unlike the houses of Barovia or even Valakai. There is a woman in a bed, and she is clearly in the final throes of childbirth. She looks pale and has a fever, perhaps, upon her. This is your initial estimation. People run over to assist, and the wife collects some towels and some water and goes over and starts doing the usual administrations that would accompany childbirth, but she does look at you concerned. It's coming a bit too early. What do you think? Priest, she needs some healing. Are you able to heal?
Yes, of course. Lathander will take care of her, I say, and I move up to the woman. What do I think here? I am skilled in the art of medicine.
Roll me a medicine check.
13.
She definitely has a fever and definitely looks uncomfortable. The child does look like it's begun to emerge. You are given leeway to see a head starting to emerge from below. But yes, she's definitely looking worse for wear. She might need a little bit of healing. Perhaps some direct healing will strengthen her and aid things along. Yes, you think that could be what the least you could do.
I put my hand on her forehead and I whisper a prayer to Lathander, and I cure wounds.
And you feel the strength of Lathander entering this woman, and already the fever disappears under your touch. She seems to be strengthening. She seems to be not out of the woods, but you have definitely assisted. You imagine without your assistance her health could have deteriorated much quicker. There is some commotion from below, and after a few moments it seems the miracle of childbirth occurs.
I was there when Lander was born. It was the happiest day of my life. He was such a sweet child. And those were beautiful days that we spent together as a family. I would do anything to be back there. But not even Lathander can change that now. They are gone.
Indeed. And yet for a moment, perhaps, you felt like yourself again, doing the work of a just God. None of this running around in the night, destroying undead creatures, even though that is sometimes the work of a priest. This was more what you thought the life of a priest would be. Healing, helping. And yet, you notice something. Silence. The woman is breathing heavily, but there is still silence. A moment of fear strikes you as you think maybe something's gone wrong, because it looks like the wife, Anna, is clutching something now and swaddling it, but there is no sound. What do you do?
I go to investigate to see if I can see what is wrong with the child. Has it been stillborn, perhaps?
You go over, fearing the worst, and yet you see a glimpse. No, you see two eyes staring back at you. You see movement. It is alive. It is fine. But why is it not crying? It is the most natural thing, after all, for a baby's first moments in this world to be followed by crying. But as you look, you just see a blank expression. The same blank expression you've seen on the bartender, and of so many men and women here. It is on this child's face. You notice Anna looking, and she cradles the baby, but she sighs a little. She looks to you and goes, "A pity. Sometimes they are so much more lively. Never mind. He is well." And she hands the baby back to the mother, who is breathing in heavily but seems grateful for your assistance and seems fine. But again, baby just seems to be alive, but little more than that. What do you think of this, Roman?
It puzzles me. What is going on in this world? Is Lathander truly that far away? Are the gods of life not present here? What is this place? What has he done to it?
You think to yourself of what Roshik suggested. Perhaps this misery was just the result of an overbearing warlord. The child has just been born. How can it already know this misery?
It cannot. There must be something, some kind of curse cast on this land. Yes, everything, the darkness, the mist, the army marching forever. They're all cursed. Every last one of them. Something must be done. Something must be done, I say, and I start marching out. It is time to find the old son.
As you leave, Anna follows you. She noticed you muttering to yourself, it seems, something about the sun, and she goes, "Priest, thank you for your assistance. It is appreciated. What good timing. But where exactly are you going now?"
We must go to the Abbey. There are things to be done there. There's something important waiting for us there. Something that will help us. Something that will help this land, help you, help us all. Something that will bring the light, I hope.
"If you are heading to the Abbey," and she looks suddenly quite agitated, but not in an aggressive way, more just like a slightly anxious way. "If you are heading to the Abbey, please, and she moves and attempts to lay a hand on your shoulder. What do you do?
I allow her to do that.
"Could you ask a favour of the abbot? None, we haven't gone for a while, but you are a holy man yourself. You could ask him to bring back our son. He has only been dead a day. You could ask him to bring him back. Please, I know this is much to ask, but I will be very grateful."
I shall pass on your wishes to the abbot, then. I cannot make any guarantees, of course, but I'll pass it on. I will ask.
She nods and smiles. She seems very pleased with this news. You notice at this point Dmitri has returned and has been walking over. He seems to have overheard the conversation, and he just frowns and goes, "Anna, what are you doing? You cannot ask them this." "No," he goes, "no, you go to the Abbey, you make your pilgrimage, but do not bother the abbot, do not bother anyone. You will bring trouble." "But no, he is..." And she turns to him. "He is a priest himself. It is fine. He might bring him back." And it's like, there will be a price, Anna. I do not know what the price could be. And he sort of starts leading her away, and he looks at you disapprovingly and just shakes his head and just remarks before leaving you, do not bother him. Do what you want. Maybe even collect the other who's come. And please, just leave. Thank you for assisting us, but please, even if you try to do good, you will do harm. And he moves her away.
I had wished to ask about this other that had come, but, well, I suppose we will find out when we get there. I suppose that person will be waiting there. Oh well, I must go and find Roshek. Time is short.
Indeed, and you look around and you think you notice him ahead at some little shrine, and you begin to make your way towards it, passing another one of these little graveyards.
I look at the graves. Is there anything that I notice about them? Anything about the time of death? Are they all recent, or are they like graves tend to be, spread out over long time periods?
They are indeed, although you notice something then quite obvious straight away. Half of them have been dug up. They are empty now.
Empty. Brought back, perhaps?
And a very quick look about shows you that it's not just this one you're looking at, but all the little graveyards that seem to be in front of these houses with their self-contained farms and self-contained trees have self-contained graveyards, and there are lots and lots of holes.
People returning from the dead. Do they return as people or something worse? This is concerning. Oh well. I move towards Roshek.
Roshek, you went towards this little shrine, which you went to then sit at. You noticed that even under a grey sky, a pool near this shrine at the north end of the village shimmers and sparkles. Near its shore sits an old gazebo on the verge of collapse. From afar it looked a bit more sturdy, but as you come closer you realise it's actually very old, this little structure. But you do see a wooden statue of a mournful, bare-chested man, its paint chipped and faded, standing inside the gazebo with arms outstretched, as though waiting to be embraced. There were also some little seats, and that is where you've sat in this quiet little area. It feels very peaceful here. More peaceful than any place you've been before in this land. In comparison, it almost feels like you're in a normal place for a change. And that pool, so sparkly, so fresh looking. It must be a little natural pool all by itself here.
I go up into the gazebo and find a nice seat there. I open my little bag of calligrapher's supplies, and I take out my book that I'm writing. And I open up the book and I look over at the sparkling pond a bit. I'm thinking of how to start the next chapter of The Perfect Lunge, which I'm currently writing. I also bring out a pair of spectacles that I found once. Put them on, but they still do more to worsen my eyesight than improve them, so I put them back into the bag again. And I think, and then I start writing. Write on a little bit as time goes. I suppose it will take a little time for Roman to do all his business.
Roman, as you approach this lovely little shrine, you notice Roshek sat down and writing in a book. He even has some spectacles on. It's quite a sight, I imagine, for you. You also notice the statue. That is a representation of the Morning Lord. A very crude and old one, but a representation nonetheless. This is a holy place.
Yes, I feel that. I feel the peace of this place, and I look at Roshek and I remember that it's wise to not judge a book by its cover. How is the writing coming? I ask.
Yeah. I look up, my dark blue eyes piercing over the edge of the spectacles. Well, it's not perfect, this quill I have, but it works. I'm still sort of getting the hang of it. But I've been thinking of some vital essences to the technique that I want to improve. And I'm just basically trying to write down the next chapter. I hold up the book. You can see that it's called The Perfect Lunge by Roshik Gleamblade.
Interesting. Passing on your knowledge to the next generation, are you?
Well, I have learned bits and pieces from things I've read myself, and, well, I thought the books I've read about warfare, they're not quite conclusive on the subject of the perfect lunge. I mean, there are, of course, other maneuvers that are important to know as well, if you want to perfect your fighting style, I mutter. But this one, I always found that, well, other authors, they don't seem to grasp the importance of getting ready for, finding your balance after the lunge, and what the best follow-up would be depending on the distance of the lunge, and I shrug. It's just a little something that I do on the side.
I think that it's great. You leave something behind. I think we should all do that. Leave traces in the world, that we were here, that we lived, so that others may learn from our example. Beautiful.
Yeah, I nod approvingly. I'm liking the tone of what he says. Yeah. It's a nice place, this, actually. It's quiet.
Yes. The Morning Lord's presence is strong here. There must be places like this elsewhere in the world as well. It brings hope that we can perhaps get the light back. What say you? Shall we make our way to the Abbey? Find the old son?
Yeah. I imagine this must be special for you then, seeing as you've thought of losing contact with him, and I start packing my things away.
Yes, it has a calming influence on me, but even here, he is distant. Yes, there's much left to do still, but we did good here. A child has been born, is alive in this world. That is something.
Well done. And I fling my pack around my shoulder, and I go down to the little pond, the gleaming pond, and I look at it.
You look into the pond. It is so clear, so crystal clear. It is very inviting. You do not detect a sense of malice from this pond. If anything, you just detect a sense of peace. You look at yourself for a while, and you notice your reflection. It seems to be looking at you, Roshek. Stern. Strong. For a moment, your reflection shifts just a little, and you see a different reflection, although it's not a different reflection, because of course it's still you, but older, slightly taller. Your father. He is watching you, Roshek. His expression is stern, but his expression always was. How do you feel about this?
Feels strange. Feels like I haven't thought of him that much. He's so far away, him and the clan. I hadn't thought him present. I hadn't thought him thinking of me, So I was just guessing that I won't be thinking of him either. But I can't help but feel slightly. I feel something. Not sure what it is, but not too close to my feelings.
As you feel these thoughts, the reflection shifts, and it is you once again. Maybe it was always you. You are your father's son after all.
What do I want to do with this pond? Do I want to drink from it? Do I want to swim in it? How is it inviting?
Those all sound lovely. You could have a swim, although perhaps this isn't the time for swimming, but who cares? Drinking, it definitely smells good. I'm sure it'll be drinkable.
I kneel down and I cup my hand to have a sip from the water.
You do, and the water tastes wonderful. You feel invigorated, in fact. You almost feel like you've been restored in some way. Although it doesn't matter, you have just had a spell of lesser restoration cast upon you.
I feel it through my muscles that are still, a bit sore from the fighting, from the riding, everything, even though we've had a rest. I feel that tension sort of easing up. I definitely want to go for a swim here, but yeah, it's not the time. I look up at Roman and say, the water is good.
Yes, it certainly does look inviting. Let us make our way to the Abbey now, Roshik. Let us find the old son.
Right. Let me just return these things to the horse.
Indeed, and you begin to make your way up this winding path that seems to lead to this abbey. You, as I said earlier, are on this road for at least 10-15 minutes.
You are going up and up.
You suddenly look around you and notice the view is quite spectacular. This whole area was raised up anyway, and you've just ascended another 20, 30, 40 feet. You look around and you can already see you are now above the tops of the houses and the forest and this little village. And to the south you can see stretching out the forests, more mountains. Interesting enough, when you look to the west, you expect to see even more mountain. After all, the snow-capped mountains here are rising up, but they stop quite suddenly. And because of the time of day, you notice why you can't see any further. Mist. A thick wall of mist seems to suddenly stop everything beyond it, and you can only see mist. Looking around, you suddenly can see that this mist continues for some time. This wall, impenetrable, leading all across the western front. It looks like if you were to leave the village and keep heading in that way, you'd definitely hit this wall. And looking around and making some deductions, you start to wonder, could this be the same wall as when you came in? Has it really gone all full circle? How large is this wall of mist to cover such distance? It must be everywhere. A perfect circle, if you will, around this land.
The mists.
I see it.
It's, do you think that's the end of the land?
Yes. I wonder how big this place is. Is it just this one land? This one, set of towns, and just sort of plucked out of our reality and put, wherever we are right now. Just this one slice of reality taken away and surrounded by this mist. Is that how things work here?
Well, the mists that we rode through when we got here, they were hardly tied to a geographical spot. So I think this land, could be anywhere and everywhere. It's almost like these, have you heard about, different sort of, I don't know, what do they call them, planes?
Planes.
You would have some familiarity with them. After all, you are familiar with the celestial planes and the infernal planes. That is your religious teaching.
Yes.
Devils come from somewhere, as do angels.
That is true. Yes. The gods, they live in such a place, in such a plane. I suppose everything is a plane, isn't it? Perhaps this is different from where we came from. I wonder how many planes there are out there, how many different existences that there are.
You feel you know a little of the planes of the elemental forces and the planes of alignment of lawful good and neutral evil, although all that is a little out of your field, really. After all, you only need to know they exist, not how to get to them. That's more the domain of wizards and sorcerers.
Yes. There might be some truth in what you're saying, Rorschach. It may be a special place, this. The question is, how does one leave this place and come back? Yes, come back to the plane that we're from.
Yeah, that is the question, isn't it? I'm just thinking that, for the longest time, I was thinking that the devil sort of, closed this place off, made this place his own. But, maybe it was his own place, out of our realm, before the devil. He just made it darker, made it his own.
That is possible too. That is certainly possible. Well, it will be interesting to study further, but... well... the Abbey's calling.
I shrug and move.
Indeed, and you continue on the road from the village, climbing above the mist to a wide ledge on which the Abbey is perched. As you go higher, you notice that the road is now covered a little with snow, as are the trees and the earth. You are getting a little colder up here as well, you notice. The gravel road passes between two small stone outbuildings, to either side of which stretches a 5-foot-high, 3-foot-thick wall of jumbled stone held together with mortar. Blocking the road are iron gates attached to the outbuildings by rusty hinges. They appear to be unlocked. Viewed through the gates, the stone abbey stands quiet. Its two wings are joined by a 15-foot-high curtain wall. You notice a belfry protruding from the rooftop of the closer north wing, which sports a chimney billowing grey smoke. And then, attached to that, direction-wise, you'd call it the western wing. You find yourself before these gates that seem to open this little gatehouse entranceway, leading into this abbey.
We are here now. I suppose we should enter. It is unlocked. Let us see if we can find the abbot. Perhaps he will know what the old sun is. And I have made a promise that I intend to keep to the burgomaster's wife.
Wait, what was that?
She has lost her son. The abbot possesses powers of, well, bringing back the dead, she said. I noticed that there were graves that had been dug up. Perhaps this is something that he does. Perhaps he keeps this place alive. Perhaps there's something more to this. I don't want to think about dark things. But we must be on guard. There's something strange about this place. I can feel it.
It is a bit weird, that. He keeps bringing people back from the dead.
Although you are familiar with the process yourself, Roman, although not skilled enough to use it. High-level priests, though, for money and the resources required, often bring back the dead quite often in the lands of Faerun. Not so often as it's an easy thing, but certainly in adventurers, it is not unheard of.
Yes, it does indeed require great skill and resources. I wonder how the abbot is able to sustain such activity. Perhaps there is more to this story. Well, I suppose we will find out when we meet him.
I look a bit surprised at this, because I didn't expect it to be such a natural thing. Because I've not run into it, really. Not where I've been. I mean, I might have heard and read something about it, but...
You would not have, yes. You, living a life on the road, away from lawful places, wouldn't really be getting assistance from priests.
Exactly. I'm a bit surprised, and I said, well, Well, if that's all it takes, resources and... Well, then maybe it's not so strange then.
No, Roshek, it is strange. The number of graves makes it strange. We must be on our guard here. But let's not start something, yes? Let us go in with peace, and perhaps peace will come. It helps to think positive thoughts.
I'm very curious to what we find here.
Roshek, make me a perception check.
10.
You, at this point, look up to the walls, which you still haven't gone through, and you notice there are figures. Multiples, like at least 3 or 4 men wearing helmets or something. You glance very quickly, and yes, there are sentries along these walls watching you.
I call out to them. Ho there. May we enter the abbey?
There is silence from these individuals on the wall, but you do hear some disturbance by the gate, and your sound has definitely attracted something that then seems to be emerging. 2 figures, squat and short. They are wearing... One of them is wearing very heavy clothing, and the other is also wearing a hood, which it then draws back. They are discussing something with each other. There's some snarling. They are making noises, Roshek. They are not natural at all. You are reminded of a wolf, a pig. Imagine a wolf and a pig talking at the same time, but it's not a wolf or a pig.
What do they look like?
They are coming forward, and you start to see clearly one of them lifts back the hood, and underneath you see a creature. This creature looks a bit like a beardless dwarf, with patches of a strange sort of skin all over. It has a human ear, and an ear of a wolf, and its face is a wolf's snout with fangs that are bared at you. Its arms seem human, though, but its legs and feet are crouched in a strange way, and you notice a tail swishing from behind. A donkey's tail. This creature is carrying a shovel. It comes towards you. The one next to it, meanwhile, Roman, you look, and it's not quite as well visible, but you see scales on its skin, and reptilian-looking cat eyes looking at you from behind the darkness of its hood. The one with the donkey expression and the wolf face speaks. "Oi! Travellers! Travellers, you wake us! Why you wake us? Naughty? Bad?
Greetings. I am Dawnbringer Roman. I'm here on a pilgrimage for Lathander, for the Morning Lord. I've come to visit your abbey and to speak to the abbot. We seek the old sun. Is this something you are familiar with?
Pilgrimage. This creature starts going back and forth on itself. It seems very happy to keep saying pilgrimage. The other one just hisses a little at you and sort of retreats. What do you do?
I look at them very cautiously. I ask Roman, what manner of beasts are these?
They seem to be put together from different creatures. Would I know anything about the kinds of magics involved in, putting together a creature such as this?
You would not. All you do know is they are abominations. This is hideous. What? This is not natural, Roman. These are not correct. It's a little disconcerting to see, for you especially. Roshek, perhaps, might be a little more understanding. You yourself have been called an abomination, after all, many times.
Yes. But friends, please take us to the abbot. Yes, the abbot. Can you take us to the abbot?
You see abbot?
Yes. We seek the abbot.
You bring food?
We have food, yes, of course. Would you like some food?
Both of them immediately spring towards you, looking very interested. The one with the wolf snout is sniffing directly in your face. The other one, more this reptilian face. They are both coming towards you very, yes, food, yes.
Yes, I open my pack and I pick up some of the rations that we had brought. I take up one for each of them. Yes, here, friends, food. You're hungry, yes? Sustain yourself, eat this. It is good food.
They snatch the food from you immediately and both begin eating, chomping, slurping, their mouths not correctly shapen. It is not a pleasant sight, Roman. They stink as well of animal feces. Something else. The smell of the grave, in fact, almost. How do you feel about that stench that now assails you?
Well, on some level I'm telling myself that all things that are alive, that are not dead or undead, all things that are alive, they have value and they have a soul. And in the eyes of Lathander, they too are special. They too are deserving of respect and of love. And yes, not everyone is as fortunate as I have been.
Roshek, how do you feel seeing these hideous, mouth-shaped creatures now lapping up this food?
Well, I don't know what we could expect from the abbot seeing this. I've seen some pretty gruesome sights of my half-brethren eating things, you know. I've seen hobgoblins tear things apart. I've seen this and that, you know. It's just like I've tried myself to rise above it, you know. So it's just, to me, it's uncivilized. Whereas, you know, I'm a half beast myself, but I try to be or maintain some sort of, you know. I crinkle my nose and I start trying to make my way past them.
Take us to the abbot now, yes, friends? You have food now. Yes, abbot. Take us to the abbot.
Yes, Otto, lead you. Otto smartest, Otto best. Yes, you follow Otto now. You give food. We no kill you.
And he leads you forward with his shovel, almost as if he was leading you in a procession. The other one snarls and hisses as it moves forward. It looks at you, Roshek, and says,
You want my eyes. You want my eyes. You cannot have them.
I don't want your eyes. Shut up and take us to the abbot.
This earns you a snarl, and this lizard-like creature scuttles away slightly. Meanwhile, Otto leads you inside. Roshek, as you look up, you notice that the guardsmen on the walls aren't moving at all. This certainly seems strange. And you are led into the abbey, following this donkey-like creature. He continues to chat to himself constantly as he leads you along, claiming how privileged you should be to be with him, how you can bow before him if you wish. Nonsense and nonsense and more nonsense. But he is leading you towards that secondary gatehouse that then seems to lead into the abbey proper. You also notice on your right a very large graveyard. Many graves there. And a path leading onwards from where you were being led that seems to lead to some farmland or some sort of like garden area. There's like a little house in the middle or something. What do you do?
I continue following Otto. I wish to be led to the abbot. The abbot is the one who will have the answers. I'm certain of it. And I'm very curious as to how he has this power.
Indeed, and you are led onwards then straight to the abbey entrance. A 15-foot-high curtain wall joins the abbey's two wings. Behind its battlements, you then see two guards, again standing at attention, their features though are obscured by fog. You didn't quite notice it, but again, up here suddenly a bit of a mist seems to have settled everywhere, making things just a little harder to see than they would be. But they seem to be about the same size and height as those guards you saw on the front of the building. Below them, set into the wall, is a pair of 10-foot-tall wooden doors, reinforced with bands of steel. To the right of these doors, mounted on the wall, is a tarnished copper plaque. The plaque reads, "The Abbey of St. Markovia. May her light cure all illness."
It's a her.
Saint Markovia, may her light cure all illness. The light. This is a good sign. This is a very good sign.
What was that prophecy about, anyway? Someone who doesn't know it's fallen?
Do you remember the words? I try to remember the words that Madame Eva told us. Try to think about the monk. Yes, what was it now? The monk, I see the old sun. I see the old sun. It is hidden there. The saint fell long ago, and the saint now knows not that they have fallen. Saint Markovia has fallen a long time ago, but does not know it.
No, I was thinking that maybe the abbot is fallen, but he doesn't know it. You know.
That could also be. The abbot could be considered to be a saint, I suppose. Who knows with these prophecies? They are also mysterious. Yes, the abbot. Otto, lead us.
Otto does as you say, starting to open this gate in front of him, although he does offer you a quick snarl of,
Do not order Otto around. Otto, order you around. Otto is the one who makes the orders here. Yes, he is. He is indeed, yes. Otto is king, you know. King of all, you see.
Otto is king of the abbot too? That is impressive indeed.
He winces a little.
No, not abbot. Abbot is king, but I second king. I am.
So you're the prince. Prince Otto, is that it?
Yes, Otto Bellevue. Finest of all Bellevues, he is. Yes, he is.
I enjoy the conversation here, losing myself a little bit. This creature, he's amusing. He's alive, and he's so different from anything else I have met. I almost forget about where we are and the task at hand. Yes. An interesting meeting.
I find that amusing, seeing him lost in conversation with this thing and suddenly enjoying himself, having been so formal and grim before. This is a spectacle to watch, and I picture them both talking to each other with axes in their heads. And I think that's really funny, so I start snorting and have to keep myself from laughing.
Indeed, and you are led, finally, through these gates once again, into a courtyard. The thick fog that has descended upon you now swirls, as if eager to escape. The courtyard is surrounded by a 15-foot-high curtain wall, on which again you now see those guards with their backs standing to you. Or so it seemed at first. Now you are this close, Rorschach, you realise you see bits of straw and sticks coming out of these guards.
They're not real.
No, they are not. Wooden doors to the north and east lead to the abbey's two wings. In the centre of the courtyard is a stone well fitted with an iron winch to which a rope and bucket are attached. Along the perimeter, tucked under the overhanging wall, are several stone sheds with padlocked wooden doors, as well as 3 shell alcoves that contain wooden troughs. 2 wooden posts mounted into the rocky earth have iron rings bolted to them, and you see someone chained to one of these iron bolts in the ground with a thick, heavy chain around their neck. There is a moment of quiet, and then you start to hear those screams again, those sounds. They are not as loud as they would have been when you heard them way, way, way from afar, but you can hear them coming from that eastern wing. Multiple voices, animal sounds, pigs, dogs, cats, wolves, all sorts of sounds that you, Rorschach, might be familiar with, all coming from something that should not be making them.
And where did Otto's friend run off to? Is he still there?
The friend seems to be hanging back watching you, but not approaching. Otto gestures towards the southern wing, the building that looks more like a chapel.
Yes, I lead you this way. One moment, I go get Abbott. I come and get you.
And he starts to walk off, leaving you.
I want to have a look at this person or whatever it is having been chained up here.
Indeed you do. You slowly approach this figure. Its head, then, looks up. Ragged hair and eyes, little beady red eyes, and suddenly this figure increases in size, spreading out its wings, giant bat wings, and launching forth on giant cloven hooves. It quickly and very angrily descends upon you, Roshek, screaming anger and fury as it launches upon you.
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Roleplaying, where we play the campaign Curse of Strahd for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Curse of Strahd was designed by Christopher Perkins and based on the adventure Ravenloft, written by Tracy and Laura Hickman in 1983. Dungeons & Dragons is published by Wizards of the Coast. The music is created by Metatron Omega, Flowers for Body Snatchers, and Word Clock, and is used with permission from their label Cryochamber. Visit cryochamber.bandcamp.com or their YouTube channel for more tasty dark ambient. A new episode of Red Moon Roleplaying is released every Friday. Please like our Facebook page and give us feedback, comments, and input there. You can also visit us at redmoonroleplaying.com. Finally, a huge thank you to our growing base of supporters. You are truly amazing and inspire us so much to keep going with the show. If you haven't yet found us on Patreon, please have a look at the links in the description and see if you want to show your appreciation and encourage our work with the show there. While the show will always be free of charge to our listeners, Patreon supporters have access to extra material such as our bonus Q&A podcast Ask for the Moon, where we discuss all topics and questions our Patreons have for us. You can even get access to the full-length, raw and unedited versions of our gaming sessions way before they are released as finished episodes. Thank you for listening. Looking forward to meeting again next week.